First of all, hi, Reggie Whitley here, and I'm here not alone, as you can see, here with Jasmine Lafayette, who joined us at Open Bar Empowerment Talks, and I'm so excited to have you back, Jasmine. Thank you so much for agreeing to be with me today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So, Jasmine, tell us a little about yourself. We know from the discussion that you did, the talk that you did, that you are a certified. I don't know why I always have to like sing certified coach, but you are a certified life coach. Tell us about that and about yourself.
Yes, so I'm from Metcalfe, Mississippi. I now reside in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was here where I really began to walk into the calling of being a life coach. It actually kind of fell into my lap um, after a grad school class, and one of the courses required coaching. And while in that course, God was like, "Okay, this is what you need to be doing." I was like, okay, I could dig it. And so as I learned more about it, I was like, man, I've been doing this for years. Um, the aspect of empowering people and encouraging people, being a sounding board and just trying to create a space where people felt like they could thrive. And so that's what I do is all about. I consider myself as a Christian life coach because everything that I do as far as the services that I will be offering coming up this year is about incorporating God into the aspect of our personal growth and how we can do that and really kind of maximize on all of this potential that's within us. So I talk about a lot of things. So in essence, I teach and empower my clients to really dismantle and conquer those personal barriers using coaching, growth mindset concepts, and Christian principles. And so the name of my business is Selfie Check by Jazz. And Selfie is an acronym for supporting and empowering lives for impactful evolution. So I'm so excited about that. It has evolved from a blog into a business. So much development there, but I'm so excited because it speaks to the essence of what I love to do, and that's encouraging people in our community, and just really talking about things that are essential for us moving to where we would like to be, and some of that involves talking about some stuff that's kind of unorthodox in terms of mental health and really having transparent conversations about who we really are and things that kind of have impacted us that we don't even know about, so just to have that space of transparency. So that's what self check is about.
And I think that that's so powerful, especially things that impact us that we don't even know about. Because
Right.
it's like, how do you? One of the things that I often say, I did a podcast with Chantel Bettis Brown. I think I was on her podcast,
Hmm.
her last season, and we were talking about how you need people in your life who are different than you because they can point out the things that you don't
Yes.
see. If your only friends
Yes.
are family and all of y'all screwed up, who's gonna identify, hey, this is where the mess up is? So I think that that's great to have that
Yes.
person, or in your case, that business that can help people see, hey, you might not see it, but let me knock on your door. These are the issues that you're having
Right.
that you don't even know about. So you come from, you, if I'm not mistaken, you were you worked in law enforcement. You were
Yeah.
an operator. So did that play a role in where you are now? A role in becoming this life coach? How does that? Because I know from research, so many people in law enforcement need what you are offering. So
Yeah.
how does that connect with you?
Yeah, so it actually, I consider it as it helped to expand my understanding of why coaching is needed and why, particularly myself with almost 8 years of experience as a telecommunicator, why it's even important for me to embrace it because I've been on the calls. I've over thousands of calls over my 8 year career almost. And I've talked with people who were in every predicament of life, whether it was panic, whether it was just all types of calls. And so I the main thing that really helped me was that I was on the front line, so to speak, on that phone. I was kind of there with them in some of the most delicate moments of their lives, and I was able to see, what they really needed or what they really needed to hear. It really gave me that on the job kind of insight of which area or which way I needed to come it as far as a life coach is concerned, because I could tell how certain mindsets may have caused them to behave or respond in a certain way, or in those vulnerable moments, what did they really need, what was the root of what they were really asking for. And so I tell people, when I say I used to be a telecommunicator, I was like, hey, I've been with people in probably almost every situation. And so I have that level of empathy for sure, and grace and compassion and patience to just really talk to people about what's going on with them. That was a part of the job, and those are skills. And like I said, just the level of empathy that I'm able to bring as a life coach too.
So tell me, what's the difference between a life coach and a therapist? Are those one and the same, or what are some similarities and differences? Because I know a lot of the times people don't like the idea of therapy, although I think
Mhm.
some of the bravest people are the people who get therapy. But is
Right.
that the same thing, just two different names, or what is that?
So it's different. A therapist is able to diagnose you, like therapists, psychiatrists, counselor, those who have the educational backing and the clinical licenses to diagnose people with certain types of conditions and things like that. They have the ability to really go into those trauma places, be it childhood or um, marriage abuse, whatever their thing is. They're able to go there and draw out some of those things to kind of walk them through the healing process. They may even be able to prescribe medication, things of that nature. Whereas a life coach, um, I'm not here to diagnose you. I'm not here to tell you that you are this and you are that. I'm here as a person to help you as you identify what is the area of your life that you would like to work on, and as your accountability partner, as your cheerleader, as a person that can help you identify some of the concepts for personal goals and personal attainment. I kind of coach you through that process and how to do that. So the main difference is that like therapists, they diagnose, they're able to really go in with the medical and clinical basis. As a coach, that's not my arena. I'm here to help you help yourself, so to speak. So we are not to give. If I tell people all the time, be careful, if you're thinking about coaching, because it is not a basis where you diagnose people and you tell people that this is what you are. You sound like this. No, that is not your place. You are here as a support system for people who need that assistance in trying to get from A to B as far as betterment, whatever their goal is, and you help them by providing them with the strategies of how to get there.
Interesting. So tell me, what are some of the things, the key points, I guess, or the main things that you see that hinder people from getting from where they are to where they're trying to be or who they're trying to become?
So I would definitely say, so two of the things that I have been doing a lot of research on that I even found within myself has been limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome. So, limiting beliefs are those things that we hold as true that may not have any type of validity at all, but somehow we've held on to it, and we think we hold it as true. So, I give you an example. So, the idea that let's see, what's a good one that I hear a lot. So the limiting belief of saying, well, just because mm, it's so many of them, and I can't even think of one. It's so many. Okay, I'll use this one for an example. So a limiting belief could be you saying that because I'm this age. Say, for instance, people who typically, when you think of college students, they typically think of people right out of high school or late teens, early 20s. But we know that college students range from people of all ages, of all ethnicities. So a limiting belief would be a person saying, well, I'm too old to go back to college because I'm this age, or I have this many children, or I'm from this background, or this, that, and the other. So because that person has internalized that belief, they won't even try. They won't even go after the opportunity to even do it. Their journey may be different from the person, coming right out of high school, but it is not impossible. And so, those limiting beliefs, it takes time to really get to the root of, okay, so why do you feel that way? Your journey may not be like a typical person, but you still can attain it. So it's the aspect of bringing awareness to, hey, there is a possibility for everybody to do this. But just because it may not be typical, we tend to say, well, it's just not going to work for me. And that's false. That's false. And so leading to the imposter syndrome aspect of it, I found where I tended to be, one aspect is like the perfectionist, wanting to get everything right. And sometimes I would find that I wouldn't start at all because I felt like everything had to be perfect before I even began. And that's like a limiting belief, and it also holds you back because sometimes you just have to get out here and try. You can try to prepare and study all you want to, but some things require just some hands-on experience. And it's giving yourself the space to make the revisions as you go. Everybody has had to do it, but it's like I said, it's just those mindsets, those things that we have to change. So for sure.
And I think that is powerful
Yeah.
because those two things, I think we can all, everybody who's watching, everybody in the world really can find a place in their life where that. Because I was just looking at my least favorite social media is Facebook. I hate Facebook, but I love the groups that I'm in. And so one of
Hmm.
the groups, the lady was saying that she was, I think, 63, 65, and she just bought her first home. And she
Hmm.
was like, my kids were telling me, you're too old to buy a house. 30-year mortgage, you'll be 90 if you're still here. Like, these are her kids, she says.
Wow.
And she had nobody backing her, nobody supporting her. And so they put that, don't know if you can hear that train in the background, but it's really loud. But she put a lid over herself because of what they were saying. But she was like, let me just go and get this house. And she went down there and for the first time in her life, bought a house. And she said she couldn't be happier. That was the biggest accomplishment of her life at
Yeah.
60. And
Yeah.
so I think we can all find, even if it's not an age thing, but I don't look the part to go here, or I
Mhm.
don't fit in these certain areas. You limit yourself. We all can find those places. And imposter syndrome, that's just like that. I mean, we can talk about that, and that's the whole podcast right there.
Yeah.
Because that's been
Yeah.
going on for so long.
Yeah. We just didn't
Because
have
with
a
that,
name for it,
right?
didn't know
Because
this is what it was.
isn't that the same as like keeping up with the Joneses and trying to do what other people are doing? Isn't all of that is tied into imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because see, there are different types of imposter syndrome. You have the Superman, Superwoman. You have the perfectionist. Um, and it's two more that I can't think of right offhand. But there are different types where people can kind of see or gauge where they are. But the whole aspect of imposter syndrome is that you feel like you're going to be found out, like you have this idea of that you're a fraud, so you feel like you must constantly do things to keep up this facade of having it all together so people won't find out that you don't have it together. But one person that I've been following that has truly helped me both personally and as a business owner, as I've been growing and developing my business, has been Stephen Lewis. He's on Instagram, and he has this test called the evidence test. And he says that in those moments when you feel inadequate, keep you a list of your accomplishments that serve as evidence that you have accomplished these things. So when your mind tries to tell you that you don't know what you're doing or you're not adequate enough to do this, that, and other, when you look back at your list, the list proves you wrong. So what is it that's telling you that you can't do it? When you clearly have this list of tangible things
Right.
that you have done. So it's like retraining your mind and understanding. I think also a lot of that has to do with our childhood and where we come from. Like I know once, because I had to really go all the way back with this thing before I could really come full throttle with the things I offer in my business. The Lord was like, I need you to go all the way back and show people where this thing can stem from. So even from my childhood of okay, so I remember growing up, I was a tall, dark skinned, heavy set girl. So I remember being told at a young age that I didn't have the look of what would be appealing. And that's something to tell a young child.
Right.
And so I just kind of went overdrive in like my studies and stuff, trying to at least be the smartest. So they couldn't tell me that I wasn't smart. So fast forward, now I'm in adulthood and I've still kept up with this drive, like having to overdo everything, trying to be the best at everything. But now I'm exhausted
Mm.
because I've spent all of my 20s, up until my late 20s, trying to prove to people that I deserve to be here. And now the things that I've accomplished is a blur
Right.
because I was operating from a place of anxiety, from a place of I got to prove something to people. And I haven't even been able to just bask in the things along the journey. So that's what I want to try to help people with, to be mindful of the moment and take the pressure off.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that when you're working and grinding, this generation, we ain't
Yes.
nothing but a bunch of grinders. Everybody
Yes.
out here grinding. And when you get to that's, I mean, when you think about it, you can't really predict the future. You don't know exactly where your mind will be. But when you kind of look at it, if you're grinding so hard now, it's just like if you're going down the street and you're driving fast trying to get to your destination, you don't even see the sights or nothing because you're so busy trying to get there. And then you look back, you're like, well, I don't know anything. I don't remember anything. And I think that's something we need to take into consideration. One thing that I heard Oprah say about 3 weeks ago on the podcast is she was saying that she tries to be conscious of everything. So she was like, everything. When I'm walking down the stairs, I want to be conscious that my hand is touching the rail. How does this rail feel?
Mm,
Conscious that one foot is in front of the other because she said she went so many years of her life going and doing and being that she got older and she realized I haven't really given much thought to life. Like, wow, my body is still moving. Wow, this is still going. And so that is, I think we can apply that to our lives because how often do we sit back and look at what we've done and what we've accomplished? We're so busy trying to get this goal out of the way so we can get to the next one. But what you're basically saying is it's good to just slow down and pay
yeah,
attention to
yeah,
everything. Don't
yeah,
just go.
yeah.
Actually pay attention.
Yeah, and be present in the moment, because I know, like I've heard people say, I'm working hard now so I can play later, or grind hard now for later. But I'm just like, but later ain't promised though.
Right.
you know so let me work hard, let me get some balance. Okay, let me be mindful, because that's one, by this being mental health awareness month, I've been really practicing a lot of mindfulness. And mindfulness is just simply the practice of being present, of the moment, of where you are, taking into account everything that's around you. And so I've been trying to be more mindful. Like, yes, I want to accomplish this, but let me be present and enjoy this sun that's out. Let me let the sun shine on my face a little bit. Let me take a break and go get me a smoothie or something, like, just making time for the things of life. Like, let me check in with my friends, let me make sure, I'm checking in with my circle, where I'm not like solely isolating myself to the grind, where I'm not present in life. So yeah.
And so I think that one of the things that, and this is what I wanted to talk about, but I think we're kind of going over in that too, because when you work so hard and you don't realize, oh, so like you were saying, write down your accomplishments. To me, it's like doing that is a constant reminder of who you are, because one of the things that I've been saying for a while is we're in an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And so, ironically, just writing those things down, those accomplishments to remind yourself shows you that we don't really know who we are. We don't really see ourselves. We don't really know our true identity because we're so busy, I guess, trying to become that we
Yeah,
don't know who we actually are. Can you talk
yeah,
a bit more about identity? And
yeah.
do you think that we're in an identity crisis?
Um,
Not
I feel
we as a whole, but you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah. I do feel like at different points in our lives, many of us do go through an identity crisis because, for one thing, we're so focused on the end goal of who we're trying to become that we don't simply just be like who
Right.
just to be. And the identity aspect of it. So when one day when I wrote down all of my accomplishments, it did two things. Not only did it remind me that I am qualified for this journey that God has me on, but it also exposed that I had this unhealthy obsession with getting things, as far as like getting the goal, getting this done, getting that done, that I allowed it to consume my identity. It wasn't Jasmine, child of the Most High God, and then, she has attained whatever. It was like I became those things. And I believe that's where the unhealthy aspect of it because comes in, that because there are voids that will appear when we don't take the time to just be who we are and we allow things to consume us. And so that's why you see some people, they always got to get more stuff, because after they get that one thing in, it fills that void for a little while. Here comes the void opening back up. Okay, so now I got to go get something else. Now I got to go get something else. Now I got to go get something else. And so when God revealed to me that I had been like that in certain aspects of my life, now I'm able to identify myself and say, okay, first and foremost, I'm a child of God, and God, and that makes me significant. Okay. That gives me validation in itself. And so anything else that I've attained, it's an asset to me.
Mhm.
It's a benefit, but it's not who I am. And I think that's when we look at identity in that aspect, it keeps us grounded, because I can say, hey, I love having fun, I love to laugh or whatever, and that's my identity. Like that's who I am. I'm enjoyable person. I love peace, I love happiness, I love being around people, I love loving on people. That's my identity. The
Right.
things that I've attained are just aspects of me, or just assets to the things that I've attained, but they don't make me. And I think that's I found that part of the identity and the being aspect is what's needed, so that we won't become so consumed with things, because on social media, it's always a trend. It's
Right.
always something new. And so if you constantly chasing after the next hype, you're gonna look back down the road sometime, you're gonna be like, so where did I leave me at? I dropped me off
Right.
somewhere and picked up something else. And you won't even recognize yourself. And unfortunately we see that in a lot of people. So yeah, I think it's very important to stay connected to who you are at your core and don't lose that.
So authentically, we are who we are. We're not what we have or what we've obtained, because so many people look at themselves and like you were saying, they put first. First I am. They introduce themselves as I'm a
Hmm.
single mother, or some introduce themselves as I am the Fortune 500 C. They introduce themselves as the position that they hold, or they introduce themselves as what they have overcome. I am even some that say I'm a breast cancer survivor. They identify now as that, but really and truly, that's not who you are. That's a part of you, but
Hmm.
at your core, your identity is who you are on the inside, not what you've
Exactly.
obtained, what you've overcome. I think that
Yeah.
that is amazing.
Yeah, and I remember like one of the things I wrote down when I was, really developing everything. I remember God telling me, um, "That's not all you are." He just kept saying, "That's not all you are. That's not all you are." And so, although when we introduce it, like I don't know if you ever noticed this, but like when you're in a say for instance you're in a professional setting, and so when we introduce ourselves as Reggie the president founder, or Jasmine president founder. That's who we get to know. But as you start to hang out with those people more, you get to learning that, hey, somebody loves cars, somebody loves fashion, somebody has a passion for working at a food bank, or helping this person, or serving here, serving there. Now you're getting to know the aspects of what makes them them, and those things help them to be able, to perform their professional jobs well, or what have you. But it's just getting to the meat, so to speak, in the core of who we are. And I don't think that should always lead with something professionally, because that's just an aspect of who you are, and that's a great thing, but not allowing that to consume who you are in its totality.
So, what do you say to people who have trouble showing who they are? Because so many people will hide behind the CEO, or so many people will
Hmm.
hide behind even the teacher. Everything they talk about is the classroom. They won't talk
Hmm.
about themselves, their personal likes. They want to hide all of their, even the flaws, the things
Hmm.
that make them who they are. What do you say to those people who should, in a way, and how?
Hmm.
So, because I was going to say should, and I was going to say how they should, but I don't want to say how they should. I want you to say how they should. How should we come out as who we are,
Yeah.
not what we have and all of that?
Yeah. Um, Well, first, I would, because I'm always sensitive to everyone's situation, because unfortunately, the day and time that we live in is difficult to really be who you are in certain settings, because of a lot of division in so many different ways. And so I feel like it really takes a personal journey first to say that, what, I'm not going to allow this to um make me feel like I have to live my life in a shell. I know sometimes, in certain professional settings, I'm just going to use, like, I know for, and a friend of mine, we were talking about this, like, as Black women, sometimes we're not always able to be the wonderful people that we are, because, it kind of comes with that expectation, so to speak. And, it's like you got to dot every I and cross every T. So unfortunately, like, a lot of professional settings don't allow for people to really just show up as who they are, and just be at peace in that. So I would just say it starts with a personal journey of really reconnecting back to you, and that personal journey then leads to. May lead to opportunities of transition. Like, is this somewhere, like, you begin to ask yourself questions like, is this somewhere that I can see myself, for the remainder of my career? Or is this something that I want to do long term? Is this really, it opens up opportunity for, like, that soul searching, like, am I even really doing what I want to do? Or is this what somebody told me I should be doing?
And I think it also opens up, do I deserve this?
Yeah.
Not is this too good for me, but am I too good for this? Is this where I
Exactly.
deserve to be in the place of? And it's
Exactly.
so ironic. I'm a TikTok fanatic, and so I was on TikTok last night. It's probably this morning, honestly, and they were saying that there was this woman, and I think that she had done like this was like a part two or something. I didn't want to go back and watch part one, because she was saying, if they, and she was a Black woman, and she was saying, if they, say, come dressed in shorts and a t-shirt, you come dressed in long pants and a polo shirt. If they say come dressed in jeans and a polo shirt, you come dressed in slacks and a polo shirt. If they get excited about something, you make sure you don't get too loud. And so I was sitting there watching, and I was like, I can see where she's coming from. I understand because the standards are different for people of color, but isn't it so difficult? Isn't it so
It
unfair
is.
that we
It's
have to
exhausting.
damn ourselves? How do we navigate in a world where people of color have to, in a way, dim our light um, in certain spaces, but
Mhm.
stay authentic? Because isn't there a fine line? I think there's a
Mhm.
fine line between having to, because to me, damning myself is not being who I am
Mhm.
authentically, but I want to live an authentic life.
Mhm.
So, how do I navigate that and stay on that fine line? And how do I know I've gone too far over to one side or another?
So my opinion of that is, and I get what she's saying. Is it's so exhausting constantly having to temper yourself, because I remember those times of like, because I love big hair. That's just been me. I was like, okay, do I need to kind of tone down the big hair? Do I not need to do some streaks of color because I don't want to come off too? Okay, it's exhausting constantly having to overthink, like, how do I come across, because we know that what may be expected of your counterparts may not be applicable to you. And so um and so as far as the authenticity goes, I think that sometimes you just have to be like Nike and just do it, you know um and just be like, you know what, I'm not going to allow myself to be smothered anymore. um I'm within the boundaries of dress code, or whatever. I'm within the bounds of policy. I'm not going to constantly be over policing myself, trying to make sure that I don't offend anybody, because I am literally smothering.
Mhm.
And sometimes, when we do that, we'll find that it may be our own fears from previous experiences that may be kind of projecting itself in this new place. And it may turn out that it's okay, like it won't be a problem at all. But if it turns out to be a problem, I think that's when, you have to say, okay, it's time to have some hard conversations. Is this where I want to see myself, being? What other opportunities are present? Am I okay with being smothered to the point where I feel anxiety when I walk in here? And I think that's why we see so many people venturing out into entrepreneurship, into um, other forms of business that has been unheard of, and they're thriving because they are actually being authentic now, doing
Right.
things that they really want to do, and they're more excited about it. And so the other thing that I would say is that, it comes to a point where you just don't care about what anybody else thinks about it, because this is your life. And I think that sometimes we give people too much authority over what we do and how we do it. I always say, as long as I'm in alignment with God, then I really don't owe nobody else an explanation. If I give you an explanation, that's a courtesy. Okay. But
Right.
I don't owe you anything. So, that's what I would just say to people. I would just say, just be who you are. Don't allow past experiences to really hinder you, because it may be okay. It may be all good. But if it's a situation where it's like you feel like it's just sucking the life out of you, it may be time to just look at other things, or how you can bridge through that, um, or even revisit that list that I was talking about, because it
Mhm.
may be an opportunity there for you to do something else.
Right. So, do you think? What is your opinion on, um, like social anxiety based on thinking? Because like, I'll give an example. So, I was on a plane. I don't know when this is going to air. So, I was on a plane sometime in May, and I was coming back into Tennessee, and I was sitting there, and right before takeoff, and I was like, "Oh, I've never videoed the plane taking off." So I was like, oh, I would love to video the plane taking off. Now, on the way where I was going, leaving Tennessee, I thought about that and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I have somebody sitting beside me. He's gonna be like, this guy's never been on a plane. And, I have, but he's gonna think I've never been on and it's gonna look so bad. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. And so I did it. But then on the way back, I was like, well, maybe I should go ahead and do it. And then it dawned on me, these people are trying to get to where they're going. They're not thinking anything about you. Like they literally probably won't even notice you simply holding a camera, holding your phone to take that
Mhm.
video. And I realized, oh wait, that's like a social anxiety response. I don't want to be looked at as whatever it is in my mind that people would say. And I remember a video that I saw and somebody was talking about just do weird stuff out in public to break that fear. So, do you think that I know that there is one side of it that is true? People really are looking and judging. But what do you say to those people who just have that crippling fear of doing things because they're afraid of what people are saying when in actuality, people may not even really be paying attention?
Right. So I think, it really, I'm very big on searching internally because something has occurred previously that makes you feel that way.
Right.
So, like identifying where you first had that crippling feeling occur and what happened there is important because when things happen to us that may offend us or made us feel some kind of way, and then when we're in another situation where it kind of has like those same kind of people or circumstances, we tend to project what happened in the past into what's present. So I would first ask them to identify, suggest that they do that, but then also to realize that this is a life that you're living for the first time. So you have a choice. Are you going to literally live life thinking, okay, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't consider your actions because you don't ever want to put other people in harm's way. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way. You don't want to be out here just absolutely belligerent or anything like that. But as far as living something as simple as videoing a takeoff or the clouds or like animals or whatever that thing is, the hobby is, are we really going to be so focused on what other people are doing that we're not living because other people ain't worried about us? And I think
Right.
it goes back to the aspect of, a lot of times when we haven't been given that full space to just be who we are. So we feel like we have to temper and like downplay that. And then the other aspect is knowing that like sometimes people be looking like when they see you do it, they're like, oh man, I always want to do that. Like when you were talking about like a film to take off, I was like, the other aspect of that, the person sitting next to you was probably like, oh man, I feel my takeoff from here. Let me show you the video of that.
Right.
Because it's, and because a lot of our experiences in life have been some has been negative and it has changed our perspective. We tend to look at all of our situations that way or look at all of our interactions with people that way, but there are really some beautiful people in the world who are looking for other beautiful people, so it's like being open. It's like we have to really change our mindset of it, and I get it because it's like I would kind of tense up when I would be the only black person somewhere. And then it's a couple experiences I've had, and they were like, "Hey," I'm like, "Oh, oh, hey," and it was just cool, But it's just been a lot that has shaped our interactions with people. So I would just tell them, you just have to make up in your mind, like, am I going to really like stop living and run my mind ragged with anxiety and worry and fear of what other people are going to think of me, or am I just going to do it?
Right.
You know? So yeah.
So good. Now, one of the things that you brought up earlier, I want to kind of put a pin right there.
Mhm.
You brought up how we are like we see certain things, we try to fit in with certain people. But I want to also, I guess, because okay, so I'm seeing this trend on speaking of trends, you mentioned trends earlier on TikTok. And I think it's called the Mosaic Challenge. And what they're doing is they're saying like they're going through this whole list. I write like I saw in person, she said I write my D's with a swirl because my mom wrote her D's with a swirl and I used to have to um, forge her signature in high school. And she also said, I just went through a whole list of I do this now because of this person. I say this word this way because I heard my second grade teacher say it so much. I do this. And at the end, they said we are all mosaics of the world around us.
Mhm.
Can you speak on that? Because one of the things that a lot of people, I just saw somebody not long ago, and just listening to them talk, the way that they explain things, I would say, oh, they feel that two people, as a matter of fact, they feel that they're in this world by themselves. Like they'll explain something, well, I do this this way, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
or I like to do things like this, but that's just me though. That's just me. That's probably not. And I'm thinking, wow, they really feel like they're in this world by themselves. They're weird. They feel like
Mhm.
they're the only people. But really and truly, we're just made up. Doesn't mean that we're trying to be that person, but we're not that different. Can you speak on just the fact that in the midst of America with this racism that we're
Mhm.
seeing, the whatever, all this just violence against certain races, certain
Mhm.
backgrounds of people, that we're really not that different.
So, two things. The first thing about the mosaic piece, I'm not on TikTok. I said I was going to get on there, but I
You're
do
missing out.
think.
You're missing out.
But I do think that so much of us, both from other people, the experiences we've had, both positively and negatively, impacts us, and that's the reason why. If we were to look like with that list that you were talking about, you're able to see why you think this way, talk this way, or feel this way, because a lot of things have been impressed upon us from our encounters and experiences in life. And even from like with children, if you see young babies playing with one another, they don't know that one baby is white, the other baby is black, other baby is of another ethnicity. They're just playing. So
Right.
but at some point in their journey, they learn the difference, and based on who's teaching them, their perceptions of those particular groups of people changes.
Right.
And so I definitely feel like that we have to we have to be, but at the same time we have to be accountable for us.
Right.
So even if someone may come to me with a type of racist thought or statement, or prejudice thought or statement about certain groups of people, I have to be accountable for me to say that I'm not going to be that way. So transition to the next point of what we see, a lot of racial hostility and division and things like that. um, we have to take a stand in our own lives to say, just because you may be filled with a lot of toxicity and divide and racism and all this other stuff going on with you, I'm not going to be that person, because I genuinely love people. And so we can't allow other people's ideologies and feelings and all types of negative rhetoric that they have to change us, because if we do, then we become just like them. So how do we promote change if we become just like them and we're promoting the same type of toxic mess? That's not how that works. And so the second thing I wanted to say about the people, when you're saying, but that's just me, that's just, everybody may not be like me. I agree with you. Sometimes they feel like they're alone, because um, we tend to ostracize and shun what we don't understand. So we tend to ostracize and shun people that we don't understand. And so you have a lot of people who feel like they are alone. And so social media, with a lot of groups and stuff, like, people are kind of finding their community, so to speak, because they're like, you know what? I think, you know, birds or whatever, I found somebody else who feel like birds or whatever. Okay, I'm not alone with that. So people are kind of finding, community in that way, with people who think like them. But I feel like we can't just do away with people in that aspect by shunning them because we don't understand them. We need to understand like what's going on with them. We may not always agree, with them, but I just feel like, especially as Christians, like sometimes we shun people away before we can even have the opportunity to minister to them, because they appear different. But when you talk to them, they may have a whole new viewpoint that will enlighten you.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Now, in our, I try not to say in our clothes because that's so preacher, but I don't know no other way to be. So, in our clothes, what I want you to do, like just off the top of your head, I feel like this is such a big request off the top of your head, but you can do it.
Mhm,
What
mhm,
is the greatest advice you can give a person as far as steps to take, goals to make to become their authentic self, identify really their authentic
mhm.
self in order to get to where they're trying to be, to get from where they are to where they're trying to go or who they're trying to become.
Yeah, the biggest advice that I would give people, is something that I say to myself every day. Don't look outside of you for what's already in you. And when I say that, I mean take some time, like quiet time, no TV, no social media. If you have like some low meditation music or, like instrumental, fine, but as quiet as you can get it and really free write, not trying to structure anything or organize anything, just write on paper what's in your mind, what's in your heart. Because I feel like a lot of times we try to search outside of us, like whether it's the job, whether it's, the school or the opportunities and networking, things like that. And all of those are great things. But what's on the inside of you, have a good grasp of that so that that can be your foundation. That way, when you reach out to people or you want to pursue opportunities, those opportunities can have some kind of structure and organization to it because you know who you are, you know what you want to do. And I'm not saying that those things don't change because as your foundation, you're building on it. But at the basis, like at my basis, I know that I love people. I want to help people tear down limitations and really think of themselves in better lights. But I may build on that with life coaching or with talks like this with you or with radio show or with a book. It's building, but it's still on the same foundation is what I'm saying. So I would just tell people, have a knowledge of who you are, search within you for what you have, everything that you ever want to do, everything that you ever have an interest in, and then build from there. And I feel that your foundation tends to be more stable because you're just not out here just searching everywhere and everything for validation because you've already found it within you.
That is so good. That is so good. So, Jasmine, tell everyone how we can find you. You have a blog, you have a podcast. How can we connect with you?
So you can connect with me through my website at www.selfiecheckbyjazz.com. My podcast is coming this summer. It's called Selfie Check-In. It's a space of love, transparency, and encouragement. So a lot of the talks that you saw here, I'm going to be doing that. There also on my website, there's a blog as well, so you can kind of read some things that God has been giving me to really share in this journey of personal growth. And also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Selfie Check by JS. So reach out, let me know how you're doing, stay in contact with me.
Thank you so much for coming, Jasmine. Jasmine Lafayette, everybody.